are listening to Next Level Thinking on St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9.
Welcome back, listeners. Before the break, we spoke about various psychological aspects. We have psychology all around us. And psychology it's all about well-being in different ways, but making a person feel either well enough to consume and to buy something, or well enough to feel safe in their own environment, or to work hard enough and to be productive and successful in life. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about psychology in itself, right? We're talking about the profession and where it all started.
Yeah, Stephanie, indeed, that's a good one, where it all started. I told you before, I think that we are quite young as a profession. And I think in the beginning, people know the madhouses, right? And that's where a lot of psychologists or psychiatrists used to work, and they studied the people who went crazy or showed odd behavior. And that's also what a lot of people still link us to. But like we said before, psychology is so much more than that. But it is something that is still bringing a taboo within our field. And actually, I'm happy we don't do it like that anymore, because in the madhouses, it wasn't always the best treatment that people got in the past. Luckily, we learn much, much more over time. And we have a lot of more therapies or techniques that we can use to help people. And luckily, people don't have to suffer in silence anymore, because not everybody went to the madhouse and could still need psychological help.
And you just said, luckily we learned a lot more in time. When we talk about that some more, what did we study to become a psychologist? Because are we all psychologists? We spoke about behavior, thoughts, emotions. And if we think about that, then and we talk about it, are we all psychologists? Well, no, we studied for that. Because when you think about medical professions, a doctor, he or she studied a lot.
Yeah, there's a specific trajectory that we have to walk through, that we have to go through in order for us to become a medical professional.
Yes, indeed. Because psychology, when we talk about psychology, you're not immediately a psychologist. You need to study, you need to train, you need to practice before you're able to help people in this domain. It's not like when we talk about medicine, we're not just doctors, right?
Right.
You have to become a doctor by training, by education. And that means some couple of years of studying.
And there's ongoing training. So psychology, you do, depends, but you get initially your master's in psychology to become a practicing psychologist, however, still not independently necessarily.
Exactly.
After your postdoctorate of 2 years, you become a independent psychology, able to work by yourself and indicating diagnoses. After those initial 6 years to work independently as a psychiatrist, or after those 4 years of getting your master's to become a psychologist, you still have to go through training and courses to maintain your skill.
Yeah, you wouldn't want your doctor to stop learning or being up to date after a study, right? You want them to keep reading the journals, to keep having training, or else do a surgery on you. And then with like the techniques from 1960.
Exactly. So as we said, same as medicine, psychology is a science. So what that means is that we continuously, there are updates to research. Research is ongoing. That means the methods that we use are constantly changing. Some are just a tiny bit adjusted, and others change completely. And we say, well, out of the door with them, because they're old and we know that they don't work. So in order for us to keep up to date and know what we're doing, we need to go back and train ourselves constantly.
Yeah, and if you do the study psychologist, you don't immediately have to become a clinical psychologist. You can also do the study, you do your bachelor, and then you start working, for example, in advertisement, or for example, in organizations, or you can choose to become an organizational psychologist. After the master, and sometimes you have to study a couple of years more to become a clinical psychologist. There's even a law here on St. Martin that makes us register. We have to uphold some criteria to be able to practice.
Right.
So not everybody can just practice as a psychologist.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's very important point that you're mentioning. Unfortunately, in a way, psychology is not a protected profession, which means you have to have your training to become a psychologist. However, everyone can say it. not meaning that it doesn't have to be true, but they can call themselves a psychologist. So by being registered, as you said, which is in the law for us to register, they'll check your documents. Hey, does this person have the background, the studies that they need? You'll be acknowledged
and covered by
insurance as an actual psychologist. Exactly.
There are a lot of, you can say pseudo psychology going on. And the important part is that we base what we do on scientific research, and to be sure that what we do is effective. Of course, you got to look at the person in front of you to make sure that what you do fits that person, because you can just put a protocol on that person and then make sure that it works. You got to tailor make it.
What type of training do we have next to, because we are talking about the basic training, right? The obtaining your bachelor's, your master's, or your postdoctorate. What are the other courses to maintain your expertise?
Well, what we said in the beginning, Stephanie, is that with APAP, we meet with each other often to talk about cases, and you got to do some different kind of training every now and then to improve your techniques.
To specialize in different problems people are facing. It's not everyone faces different problems, and as a psychologist you see a lot of different people and with a lot of different ages, different types of problems, but everyone has their own specialty, and that needs training as well.
So I like that you're saying that. So not every psychologist, what you're saying, Sana, can do everything.
No,
right.
No.
So we have our organizational psychologists, if they're trained for that, who can work specifically in organizations and helping an organization either with their promotion, marketing, or maybe even human resourcing. They cannot work in a clinical setting. They cannot give therapy to someone with, let's say, a depression. You have to be trained for that. And even someone who's clinically trained can do a specialty to know more about a specific disorder, is what you're saying, Sana.
Yes, true.
And also there's a difference, Stephanie and Sana, about dealing with a child concerning dealing with an adult. We tend to do more talk therapy with adults. With children, there's more creative or play therapy. So you got to adjust to the person you have in front of you, and that needs more training, more skills than just 4 years of studying. It's an ongoing process. So actually, it's really interesting. Psychology is all around us, and it's also something you can keep improving and better in. And we're never done learning, I think.
We're never done learning as psychologists. You're absolutely right. And as you said, it's all around us. And I don't think that a lot of people realized how big of a role psychology actually plays in our lives. Daily, our life is greatly impacted by the interaction of people, of our employers and employees, just the interaction between us and our environment. There are constantly different factors playing a role in our health, our happiness, and our overall well-being. Learning more about the basics of psychology can give you a greater understanding of how it can affect your life. This was our first show, and it will definitely not be our last. In the following episodes, we'll discuss, amongst others, stress in adults and children, living with a mental illness, and why is it that we celebrate?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a good question, right? So apart from, as we explained in this show as well, the therapy side, there is so much more to psychology, and we want to take you on that journey. Thank you all for listening today to Next Level Thinking. This program has been made possible by the Ministry of Health and DCOM. Please follow APAP on Facebook to stay updated with our journey to inform the community and strengthen mental health care on this island. And do not forget to tune in again next time to Next Level Thinking on St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9.
Next Level Thinking.